So here are some of the stuff that we need. Bucket with lid, bags of vermiculite, and this thermostat gun. And right here is a stove pot that we would need for boiling water, because that's what we would need to do in order to kill viruses, bacteria, and other bad stuff that could be in both the vermiculite or the Coco Coir. So that's why we're using the boiling water method to sterilize or pasteurize the Coco Coir and vermiculite, so that mushroom mycelium can easily take over without any problems. Right here is a measuring cup that we would need to measure water and vermiculite. So first I'm gonna add water using this cup into the stove pot. So the instructions said to add about 4 to 4 quarts or about 16 cups of water. So that's what I'm gonna do. But while doing that, I will turn this on so that I could just place it on here once I'm done with that. Okay, now I'm gonna put it on here. And we'll just wait. So while waiting for the water to boil, I'm going to start adding vermiculite and the Coco Coir block in the bucket, so that all we'll need to worry about is add the water once it's ready. We need about 2 quarts of vermiculite per block of Coco Coir. So 2 quarts would be about 8 cups of vermiculite. So let's take this out of this bag. So this whole process could take about a few hours, because we would need to, once we add the boiling water, we would need to make sure it's cooled down to at least 90 degrees, 80 to 90 degrees, because anything higher than that, it might kill the mushroom mycelium. So that's what we don't want to happen. So make sure to keep that in mind. There you go. Now we just need to wait for the water to boil. Once it reaches a certain temperature, then it's good to go. Which shouldn't take that long. Maybe a few more minutes and we should be able to pour it into this bucket and just let it sit there and cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna check the temperature with my thermostat gun. It's now saying 155 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's been on there for about maybe 5 minutes now. So I'll give it maybe a minute more, because online it says water sterilization or pasteurization needs to be at least 149 degrees or higher for 6 minutes or less. So we'll just let it sit there for a little bit longer just to be on the safe side. Okay, so it's been a few minutes now. Be very careful with this boiling water. You don't want to spill it on yourself, so make sure you walk carefully and just dump it in there like that. Once you do that, and then now what you want to do is use any sort of plastic, like this one I'm using, or metal, whatever, so you can stir it up and mix everything up before you cover it up. Then you're gonna want to check on it from time to time so that you can see if it's ready to be used. Remember, we want the temperature to be as low as 80 to 90 degrees until we can start using it or store it. So just close it for now and check back on it once a few hours have passed. Okay, so it's been a few hours already, and we'll now check what the temperature is. So it seems about right, because the temperature needs to be between 80 to 90 degrees, and it's at 90.1 right now, so we're good to go. This whole thing can be stored or used now that the temperature's on a cool stage. So that's why I have this bin where I'm gonna be pouring this pond of mushroom or mycelium in here, and this one and this one as well. So I'll show you how we can do that in a sec. What we need to do is open this up and pour it in. So depending on the strain of mushroom, you might need to add a thin layer on top. And this is the type of mushroom that doesn't really require to be dunked in water for 18 to 23 hours, because it's the type of mushroom that doesn't like too much moisture. There are many different types of mushrooms, but the ones that I've grown so far are either just the ones that like Coco Coir Vermiculite with dung, like sterilized dung. You can buy this from like midwestgrowkits.com, outgrow.com, and or other places. Yeah, so what we did with Coco Coir, that's one method of sterilization, or you can see, they call it pasteurization, but I don't want to confuse people with the terminology, so I'm also going to say sterilization. When growing indoors, they can be very sensitive, so you have to make sure that you're using sterile stuff. So let's join here. Okay. So the next steps would be to crush them up. You can also check out my other videos on how to do this method. It's pretty much just going to show you the same method, except the pasteurization or sterilization method that I did on before I got the Coco Coir Vermiculite in this stage. So I have videos about how to grow morels, how to inject the jars with mushroom spores. This is what I'm doing right here, is the bulk method, which works for most mushroom species. And this is the method that I've been using for years, and it's always worked for me. So yeah, pretty much in the world of mycology, you just gotta find what works best for you. Like for me, the jars always works best versus spawn bags. I don't know why, but spawn bags never worked for me. It's just for some reason I don't see any growth signs of mycelium whenever I use spawn bags. But with jars, I get results in a matter of days. So what we will do now is mix some of this. I mean, a lot of this in here. We don't need the whole thing, so we would need to store them later on. You can see. I'm gonna mix just enough for this batch. Yeah, mycelium is just like seeds. They need nutrients to survive. They need moisture. They need Coco Coir or other fresh or dry biodegradable materials. And depending on where you're growing it, they either need to be sterile or not. When you're growing outdoors, you don't really need to sterilize stuff, and because outdoor is always gonna have stuff in the air. Once it's all mixed up, we can then add a thin layer on top. And you just need to place them in an incubator. So depending on your mushroom species, placing them in an incubator might not be a requirement. But for this one, since it likes the heat, so we would need to make sure that the temperature range for this species stays between 75 to 80 degrees. Yeah, then layer like that. That's really all it needs right there. Make sure you flatten it. That should be about 0.3 centimeters. Just make sure there are no grains exposed. So yeah, like I said, they're like plant seeds, so you gotta make sure that they're buried there, because eventually they're gonna take over this whole space and the mushrooms will start to sprout. Make sure you spray them with a spray bottle to keep it moist on a daily basis, and keep an eye out on that temperature and humidity level. So we're done.